Hi everyone. Thanks for sorry for the slightly slow start. My name is Henry Murison, Director of the Northern Powerhouse Partnership. Thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. Hope everyone's enjoyed their virtual lunch break. It's a real pleasure to have with us some of our guests who are going to ask some questions. So our panel of young people. I was going to get them all to very quickly introduce themselves rather than me tell you who they are. So we'll just quickly run round and get them to say who they are. And then I'll introduce you, Daniel, to answer some of the first questions we've got for you. So should we start, Hassaf, with you? Asfar, you?
Hafsa.
Hafsa, sorry. Apologies for pronouncing it wrong.
Well, hi, I'm Hafsa.
And Mohammed?
Hi guys, my name's Mohammed Ali. Thanks to Tracy, I've had this opportunity to question you guys, and hopefully we'll get to that.
And Kane, you're the last to join us, aren't you? So welcome.
Yes, no problem. We have got another young person that was on the call a minute ago, but I think he's just dropped off, Kieran, but he should be coming back to us at some point. My name's Kane. I'm a member of staff at Power2. Mohammed, I'm Tracy's son. So that's a nice little link there. Yeah, other than that, we're just waiting on Kieran coming back, I think. Here he is, he's just arrived.
And as if technical innovation was with us. Welcome, Kieran.
It just restarted as it came on.
Lovely to see you. Well, to hear from you. So we're just going to go straight into some questions for Daniel Kasmir, who's the Chief People Officer at TalkTalk. So we're going to do some questions for you, Daniel. So welcome. Thanks very much for agreeing to take part.
A pleasure.
As a kind of major employer in the north of England, it's great to have you involved. And obviously we heard from your colleague Tristia, your Chief Executive earlier. So great to hear some of those insights about why you chose to shut up shop in London and come to Salford Wholesale. So it's great to have you. And I know are you in the office in Salford? No, not everyone
I am
there, but
in the office. Yeah, no, I've been in the office, and I've been in the office through most of this crisis, which has been fun.
They can fit in a few hundred still. I mean, I think you could at normal times it's up to 2,000, isn't it? So you're not quite full.
We've still got a bit of space. Yeah.
So I was just going to invite you guys in whatever order you want to ask your questions to Daniel, and then we'll go from there. So who wants to go first with a question, and then we'll get Daniel to an answer each of you one by one, and then we'll get Andy Burnham on the line in a bit.
Yeah, I don't mind starting, guys.
Cool.
All right, so hi there, Daniel. How are you today? You okay?
I'm good. Good to meet you all.
Thank you very much. So the first question I've got for you is, our teachers talk to us about the skills employers are looking for in graduates or school leavers. Are there any skills or qualities you think people undervalue or on the other hand, overlook?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple of things. Excuse me. I think, would you start to think about work and pursuing careers, this, that, and the other, the thing that's really, really important, that wherever you're working, whatever you're doing, is the ability to communicate well with people. And I think that, in the conventional curriculum at school, there's not a lot of stuff that helps people communicate, and you need to communicate well, not just to get through interviews, but to participate in the workplace with colleagues and stuff. So I think more can be done there as well. And then I think, in these troubled times, organizations are looking for, opportunities to to grow. And if you're interested in commercial jobs, the ability to sell is always something that organizations can't get enough of. So again, that doesn't come through the conventional curriculum in school. And I think it's up to us as employers to help people find a way forwards.
Lovely.
Who wants to go next?
I will. So my question is that my year group, because we only have the one chance in our high school to go on work experience, because of COVID-19, everyone in my year group has missed out on it. So are your organizations considering offering work experience placements or those sort of opportunities to people in my year group or other people like me who've missed out on it?
Totally, completely, yes. So we're always looking for people to come and do work experience opportunities here in our technical teams, all sorts of departments. We do a lot of work with with local schools in Salford, and we love it. We get a lot of benefit when we have young people coming and working here, and we are delighted, and we'd love to hear from anybody who's listening today that wants work experience opportunities. Get in touch with us, engage with us, and we'll see what we can do. And I think that within COVID, I think you're absolutely right that certain year groups did miss out on on work experience, and if it means to help, we'll we'll increase the number of work experience opportunities we get when we get away from this dreadful thing, to to help you offset that, and and see what we can do. I think we've kicked around and thought about can we provide online work experience opportunities. I don't think we've really cracked that one yet, because we're just figuring out how to run an organization and a business with people offline. And I think we found that to have really good work experience opportunities, it's usually working in quite close proximity to people, and we just got to figure it out. But I think that's something that's on our list of challenges. And then certainly the government launched some new schemes a few weeks ago in terms of work experience and helping get young people into jobs, this, that, and the other. And we're absolutely focused on bringing in as many young people as we can do to support that scheme, because we recognise that this has been a horrible time, but it's particularly unsettling for young people, and particularly young people who are just jumping into the workplace. And we want to do stuff to to help people out. And I think the way that we do that is to create jobs and meaningful opportunities. So yes, we want to help.
So just to add on to that then, Daniel, how would the young people that have missed out on that opportunity go about contacting you for the work experience? Because at this time they've actually missed their opportunity to do that through school now. So what would you do to contact the schools and to directly contact young people to invite them in?
Yeah, so we'll work through with the schools and stuff that we we work with in Salford. But if anybody wants to to come and contact us via our website or via LinkedIn, then fine. I'm gonna get absolutely bombed by people now, aren't I? It's going to be
Definitely
fine. Bring it on. Let's see what
Brilliant.
we can do.
Brilliant, thank you.
Should we go to you next, Kieran?
Yeah. My question is, during, throughout the pandemic and that, have you been able to continue to offer apprenticeships to young people? And then if so, have you been able to do it in a an effective way?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. We've got, I think, across our business, and we've been quite lucky in this, because fortunately our product is we put internet into people's houses and businesses, and one of the things that's continued to be sought after, one of the products that people want to continue to have, is internet into people's houses and businesses. So our offices have been open the whole way through, and our business has been functioning the whole way through, and the demand for our services has been actually pretty good during this this awful time. So yeah, I mean, we have, I think at the moment we've got I think 82 apprentices that work in our business. Those have continued to work for us throughout the period. And actually during this time, just this week, we've had 12 software developers who have have just been through a 12-week boot camp with a company we work with called Code Nation, and they're now up and running and in our business. It's been a bit weird how we bring people into the business, because usually they'd come in and they'd have a couple of days of orientation and getting familiar with people, and we've had to run that online, and a couple of my colleagues have been doing that. So you find ways around it. So yeah, no, I mean, I think that whatever we might read in the press and this, that, and the other, business does continue. Business has got a continual need to have young people come along and join. It's the lifeblood of the future. And the 82 people that we've got here on apprentice scheme says, yes, that's absolutely something we're committed to, and we will continue to be as we go forwards.
Thanks so much, Kieran, and thanks, Daniel, for answering all those questions. We're now joined by Andy Burnham, the Metro Mayor of Greater Manchester, who's now with us as well. Welcome, Andy. Lovely to have you join us to answer some questions. And obviously,
Hey, Henry. Afternoon, everyone.
Yeah, it's lovely you could join us. And I know we've just been having a really great chat about employability and some of the opportunities for young people in Greater Manchester and beyond at businesses like TalkTalk, who are obviously really keen to fill some of the gaps and give people some of the opportunities they might have missed. But we also have some questions for you, Andy, not from me, but from our panel. And it was Andy at the first Convention of the North in Newcastle, well, technically in Gateshead, but Newcastle organised it, but that's a different story, kind of highlighted kind of where were the voices of young people in the room. And the second of those events was a very different one. So I think it's so appropriate, Andy, that you take part in this particular session, and so glad for you to be able to spare the time. Which one of you guys would like to go first and ask your question to Andy? Are you gonna go first, Kieran? Great.
In the event of a second wave of COVID, what will be done to ensure schools are better prepared for support of their pupils, considering that they've been out for 6 months already?
Yeah, well, thanks, Kieran. That's such a good question. I'm sorry if this is a sort of a depressing note on which to start, Henry, but we are heading into a winter without a vaccine. I think everyone needs to sort of get their head around that. You know, that's a challenging prospect, and I've just been discussing with my 10 leaders in Greater Manchester and NHS senior staff, you know, what we do to get ready for that second wave, Kieran. So a lot of thinking is going on about it. Obviously, we've learnt a lot, haven't we, in the last few months? So I think there's an ability to be better prepared than we were. And so PPE, personal protective equipment, just one thing, you know, there should be much more supply into schools to enable staff and students to feel safe. I think a lot of work has gone on in the lockdown, hasn't it, around schools, sort of thinking through the layout and kind of managing things differently. So, I mean, I think you're absolutely right, though, to raise the question. It's going to be a really challenging time, because don't forget, you know, in the winter we'll have the normal flu season alongside COVID, and that will be a really tricky situation to manage. So, you know, sometimes, you know, you kind of hear people say, well, young people don't suffer much from this, so therefore there's not much of a problem. But, you know, I think one of the great things to me about this generation of young people, Henry, is they think more about the bigger picture and the wider society than just themselves. And I think getting that message over to young people that even if it doesn't affect you so much, you could obviously carry it to someone else in your family or in your friendship group that could seriously harm them, even kill them. So I just think we're going to have to really improve our messaging, our supply of PPE. We need to support schools more. And I think mental health support for people, and particularly for young people, because I think young people's lives have been more damaged and disrupted by COVID than anyone else's. And we need to be much better prepared for all of that as we go into the second half of this year.
Thanks, Andy. And we've got a couple more young people with us who've just been questioning Daniel from TalkTalk, and I know they've got questions they want to ask you as well. So maybe, Kieran, do you want to come back with a quick follow-up, or do you want one of your fellow kind of contributors to go and ask their question next? Or is
I'm all right with Hafsa and Mohammed asking their questions.
Cool, that's really kind. Do one of you guys want to go next?
I'll go next, if that's okay, Mohammed.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, my question is that what are you doing to make opportunities more accessible for people who are from more disadvantaged areas, who might not be able to access them in the first place, maybe without school?
Yeah, thanks, Hafsa. Thanks for your question. I mean, this is something I care a lot about, because I think, you know, young people in parts of Greater Manchester can face real challenges to access opportunities, particularly when you look at the cost of transport. So I feel we need to do a lot more to bring down the cost of transport for young people. I wish I could bring it down for everybody, but I haven't got the budget to do that necessarily. However, I have just confirmed, even though we're really facing a tough climate on the financial front, that we've just opened our free bus pass for new applications to the, let's say, the people waiting for their GCSEs. So they are able to apply now for a free bus pass, which will start as of September. And it's actually a bus pass that links also to free opportunities, free tickets to sport and culture and other things that young people can do as well. And we're really trying to increase the opportunities side of what we call the Our Pass. So, I mean, that is what I am doing, and I've kind of protected the Our Pass, even though the budgets elsewhere are really under massive pressure. I kind of said to everybody, you know, we've got to preserve the support for young people at this moment in time, and we've got to help them continue to access opportunities. So the Our Pass only covers 16 to 18, but one thing I have done is said for those young people who had the pass but are now going into, well, they were year 13, if that makes sense, and then now they would have been going to the first year of university or whatever, we're going to give them access to the opportunities for an extra year, because we kind of recognize that their life plans might have changed a little bit through this strange time that we're living through. And though I can't afford to give them free bus travel because I just don't have the budget to do that, we can still give them free opportunities, and we've just committed to doing that. One other thing just to say, or two other things very quickly, Henry, if I can. We're also, you're talking about young people who have the biggest challenges, you know, who face most difficulties in accessing opportunities, perhaps because of lack of funding or connections or whatever it might be. So we've just committed to give the Our Pass to age 21 for care leavers, so young people leaving care. And we want that transport commitment to be part of a young care leavers guarantee. So for young people who don't have a mum and dad to fall back on, you know, it's hard enough for those who do, but those who don't at a time like this, well, that is, you know, much more difficult. So we're trying to give them preferential access to transport, housing, hopefully employment, working with TalkTalk and other big employers in Greater Manchester. So that's one thing we're doing. But also reflecting on Black Lives Matter, you know, there is still massive inequality between our different communities, religious and racial inequality, and, you know, big differences there if you look at life chances. So we are talking to Operation Black Vote at the moment about how we might develop a leadership, mentoring, support program for young people from, I hate the word BAME, but it's what I've used now, isn't it? BAME communities to access opportunities, to open doors that might currently be shut, if I could put it that way. So, you know, these are just a few answers. Your question's a brilliant question, but these are just a few things that we're trying to do in quite difficult circumstances.
Do any of you guys want to come back and ask Andy a follow-up to any of that, or should I get Mohammed to ask his question next?
Well, I don't have a follow-up, but I just want to emphasise how great it is that you've started the Our Pass for the 21-year-olds that are coming out of care. It's a really good thing there.
Thanks very much, Mohammed. I mean, yeah, I mean, I just think even in the most difficult times, we should be doing most for young people who just haven't got that parental or family support. Because I don't know if you know, but I do a lot of work on homelessness and rough sleeping and made that a big priority. I've met too many people now on the streets of city centre Manchester who a couple of years ago were in care, and the safety net's just not there for them in the way that it once was, and we need to create a new safety net, if I could put it that way. Now, transport to 21 won't solve everything, but it's just that help when they most need that help at that moment when they've left care and they're trying to find their place in the world. It's just there for them at that moment. But we're trying to supplement it with, you know, priority access to housing, to employment, and also to a mentor, someone that they can ring 24/7. You know, just as some young people will ring their mum and dad at, let's say, 2 o'clock in the morning, just if it's a crisis. Can we give them someone to ring like that? You know, who will be their mentor, available any time of the day or night. You know, these are the kind of things that care leavers say that they need, and we're trying to kind of bring it all together into a new guarantee for care leavers. But I'm really glad that you support it, and thank you for saying that.
Yeah, just a quick question: would that mentor would be somewhat similar to like a social worker?
Yeah, but not as formal as that, if you know what I mean. You know, not somebody paid to do it. So it would be, you know, going to some of the big companies to say, are there people within your organisation who would be prepared to, you know, fulfil that kind of role? Because I think I think social workers have a crucial role to play, to be honest. But I think it's also not fair to say to them at 2 a.m, you know, if they've got their own kids and whatever, you know. So it's people who perhaps whose kids have grown up and they've got that ability, capacity to do it, and they're there to be a sort of a, you know, someone who's always there for that person. Because, you know, I think we've all been there, you know, when you're growing up, you get in situations and scrapes and God knows what, don't you? And sometimes you just need to ring somebody and speak to somebody. And it's that, I mean, it was care leavers themselves said to us that they felt that would have been one of the most useful things they could have had. And so we're trying to see if we can put that in place.
Am I right to ask a follow-up question from this?
Of course, yeah, Kieran.
Of course, Kieran.
You know, when you're saying that you're offering out a mentor to the care leavers, is there any way that you'd be able to put that towards people who are currently still in care? Because I know there's some people, like I've been through a similar experience, who aren't really keen or can't really trust a social worker as much. Do you think?
Yeah, I think, you know, when I hate, in some ways it's like what I was saying to Hafsa a minute ago about Babe. You know, we put these labels on people, don't we? Care leaver, and it's so that you know, it just then implies the minute you leave care, then you qualify as a care leaver. I think your point's a good one about it being for that maybe transitional period where, you know, the late days of being in care and just before you leave care. That's the period that matters, I think. Well, it all matters, but that really is crucial, that time. So absolutely, I think it's about extending it maybe for the last year in care into the first couple of years out. You know, that's the kind of thing we're trying to do. Obviously, the pressures on people might be greater once they've left a care setting, and the risks greater, and therefore the support really needs to be provided at that time. But I agree with you, if you could provide the mentor for a year before leaving care, then that would be the ideal thing to do.
So we've got a few minutes left with both with Daniel and you, Andy. And I was just gonna kind of ask our three kind of questioners, but also you, Kane, and thanks so much for helping, along with some of your colleagues, for helping make today possible. And I know we really appreciate everyone who sort of suggested and kind of recommended some of you to join us. It's been certainly the most interesting part of the day so far, and I think a really incredible set of insights into the real barriers to education and skills. Because I think it's very easy to talk about these big kind of monoliths and all the money you can spend, but those things are only valuable if they reach the people who will benefit. And I think you guys have really brought to life those issues so much better than anything else we've heard today. And that's not to criticize the people who've come before you, but it's just to really say how interesting it's been to listen to what you've got to say. And I'm sure Andy and Daniel would agree. We've got time for one kind of last question. And I know, Kieran, you've had a cheeky follow-up, but do either of our other kind of questioners have anything they want to ask, or anything you want to say actually in terms of your reflections on this session and what you've taken away from it? Because I think I'd be really keen to hear your impressions of what both Daniel and Andy have had to say and share with you.
I just want to say that I know from speaking to the young people before we came on this call that they're really appreciative of actually being listened to and being noticed and being taken seriously. The young people that we work with are really good young people, and they know what they want from their futures and what steps need to be taken to help support other young people in the same situations that they're in. So the fact that I've got 3 of the young people that we've worked with on a call with, you know, 2 such influential people, and on a panelist with so many people listening to their responses, I know that they really will take so much out of this. So thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, well said, Kane.
And the last word for any of you guys, do you want to say something before we thank Andy and Daniel for their time as well?
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you again to Andy for obviously explaining. I didn't know that they were doing the RPAS, but obviously I was only aware that they were doing it for the 16 to 18-year-olds. But after hearing that, it's really good to know that they're willing to help, along with Daniel. The fact that
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we're going to have to close this summit down. Yeah, everyone's going to be booted off, so I just wanted to say if it closes down immediately, sorry about that. We're having some issues with Zoom.
No, it's fine, and I think we'll count what Mohammed had to say as the last word. And
Thanks, Mohammed. Anyway,
Thank you. Thank you very, very much.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
it. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks all of you for joining.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.